everybody. I appreciate it. Appreciate the numbers. Let me just reiterate. There's no shame in these numbers. The idea is that you're tracking them and that you know what they are. If you don't know what they are, you're not paying attention to your business, and you are all business owners of You Inc. And so you have to think about it like that. So just keep it up. It's a great discipline. As it's May 19th. So we've been doing this since, the first of the year. And I think it's probably for a lot of you, it's the first time that you've really paid attention to those numbers. So great job. That's a big deal. First thing I want to cover is the coaching group that I'm in did a call with Barry Habib and Dan Habib on all the tools that are in the MBS Highway website. And so there's a recording that I'm going to be sending you. It's a 1-hour call. I've not listened to it. Giuseppe, were you on that? No. Okay. I have not listened to it or watched it, but the feedback was pretty good. And so it's just all the tools that are available. And I guess they spent a lot of time was spent on the debt consolidation. So I'll be forwarding, anyway, I'll forward this email. It's like I said, it's about an hour-long video. It looks like they edited it out. So at the very beginning where there's a bunch of talking going on, the debt consolidation tool and the buy versus rent tool and the investment property tool. So there's some tools in there that you probably may have not spent a lot of time learning. So I think there's going to be some good takeaways that you can gather from that. This is not the kind of video that you want to watch, in the middle of a work day, Monday through Friday. This is like a weekend video to spend time on. So you should be carving out some time every weekend for, not all weekend, but, at least a half a day on Saturday or something for some work, some follow-up activity. And then, taking the time. There's so much content that gets pumped out in our business. I think about that a lot because the mortgage coach calls and all these other calls that I should listen to, you can't listen to everything, right? So you have to be pretty discerning, and we're a pretty good filter here. So people listen to stuff and they can recommend good things for all of you to follow up on and listen to. So this will be really good. So take a look at that. Then I want to share my screen and just talk about the more, we hear about this inventory thing a lot, and we hear the inventory thing isn't going to change. Unfortunately, that's where I think that's where this is going to become something that we're just going to have to figure out a way to live with for a while. And the only way, because nothing's going to magically happen that's going to make me think that all of a sudden there's going to be a lot of houses on the market and we're going to get a bunch of deals. What we have to do is we have to dig and really help customers who aren't buying understand this, because I think probably the biggest opportunity is the first-time home buyer market. I say that because if somebody's got a house and they've got a rate in the 3s, we always say the 2s, we weren't doing not everybody got a 2% interest rate or a 2 3/4 or a 2.5. So, but if you have a rate in the 3s, moving into a rate in the 6s isn't that attractive, right? So when that time comes that rates are going to, when rates start to come down, this is the conversation I'd be having with everybody right now. When rates start to come down, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better, right? Because more people are going to want to jump in and buy houses. So even the first-time buyers more first-time buyers are going to want to come into the market. Does everybody agree that if rates get into the 5s, more first-time home buyers are going to want to buy? Of course they are. Does everybody agree that if rates get into the 5s, the people that are sitting on 3 that need a bigger house are probably going to go, okay, I need to buy. All it's going to do is drive up demand. Okay. And more demand, supply and demand is what raises the price of a home. So I've got, you can see, this is slide. I don't know if you can see that. This is slide number 34, because I've got a million slides. I went and dug up all kinds of anecdotal data, quotes, and the newspaper saying that the housing market's going to suck, but it just keeps going up, right? And the reason that it keeps going up is because there just isn't that much supply. So I'd focus on this slide if I was having these conversations with borrowers today, and then I'd focus on this slide. Supply is low. In 2007, we had close to 4 million homes. In 2023, we have less than 1 million. currently there's only about 500,000 active listings in America, according to Habib. That's crazy. There's only 500,000 active listings. I would spend time on this slide that talks about why the demand is so high and why it's not going to come down, right? Because the average age of that first-time buyer is 36, according to the National Association of Real Estate Agents. And what happened in the early 70s that impacted birth rates, which is what impacted the drop in demand in the drop in the demand that the builders experienced. And so that's the deal. I mean, the builders, we know how this took place. So those are the two slides. And then here's the truth. And this is what people don't pay attention to: population. There's 336 million people that live in this country today. That's the stat. That's how many people live here. There's another 69 million people. The population of America is going to grow another 69 million by 2060. I know that's 38 years from now, but that's the number. Okay.
Like net number? Like,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Plus 69 million more than 336. And by 2100, there's going to be 111 million more people living in this country. Where are they going to live? The fact is, home prices aren't going down. So for all the people that think, oh, I'm going to wait until the prices get better, I'm like going, dude, the prices aren't not getting better. They're just not. Over the long term, if you're trying to time the market, you can't time the market. That's not possible, right? It's not, I don't know when. The only time that this was a bad idea to buy a house, and you'd have to be really unlucky. If you'd have bought the house in 2005 and then you had to sell in 2008, yeah, you lost money. But if you rode that out from 2005, I bought my house in 1999. Lori and I bought our house in 1999 that we still own today. We paid $290,000 for it. In 2008 or 2009, I probably couldn't have sold it for $350. Right. I'm sure I could have made money on it, but I wouldn't have made what it could have made, like, because there was still the run up to 2005 and 2006. But we all know what happened to property values. I mean, maybe that slide with the property values in it, where the market always wins. Where the market is 77 and whatever, 73, 7 and 1. The slide that shows all the appreciation years. But over time, this just doesn't, so it's not going to get cheaper. And if you don't get into the market, you're just going to pay more later, because eventually you want to buy a house, right? Eventually. So we can't save the world, but we can save everybody that we talk to and explain to them the reality of, look, here's the truth. The truth is, it's always going to be tough to get into a house because more people are living longer. People aren't downsizing. So senior citizens used to downsize pretty consistently. That's not happening anymore. Senior citizens want to age in place. Reverse mortgage is becoming really popular. And because of reverse mortgages, they're going to age in place longer and they're going to live longer. So that house isn't going to ever hit the market. So I just think that we're probably not doing our clients we're not giving them good enough advice. They're like going, dude, here's the truth. The truth is, it's just going to get more expensive every year unless something really amazing happens. Because what happened in 2007 and 8 was the perfect storm, a combination of falling birth rates, dramatically falling birth rates, which impacted how many people were entering the housing market, how many household formations were coming along, and this crazy this crazy mortgage lending environment that we were in, where you could get a mortgage without qualifying for it. And when the bottom fell out of the housing market and all those builders had all that inventory, we had a huge problem and it all just folded in on itself. It was the perfect storm. It wasn't one thing. It was a couple of things that really impacted it. So I just think that you could gain a lot of benefit from having these conversations with the client to help them understand, like, look, I know there's not a lot of inventory and that sucks. It's not going to get better. So you might want to just consider, like, hey, maybe we got to go. Because if you're not in the market, you're never going to get, if you don't get in, you can never benefit from this appreciation. I was talking to Dean yesterday. He's got a client buddy potential client buddy who is a renter and he's rented for the last 8 years. And he's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I want to buy a house. I'm like, dude, I'd hate to like going, can I just show you how much appreciation you've missed out on the last 8 years by not buying a house? You know, you could buy a house with like 3% down. Can I show you like how much is the house you live in? Let's go back and look at that house that you're living now that you're paying rent. He's got a really good deal on his rent, but dude, you've missed out on a fortune. And maybe focus on that slide on the, you know, get a slide put together. So I haven't set this to marketing because there's so much in my head about what I would do with this. But the slide about the average net worth of a renter versus the average net worth of a homeowner. What are you going to do? The reason that happens is because of that appreciation. And you're going to pay somebody's mortgage, your landlord's or your own. So I just think that that's the opportunity that we can take advantage of. Everybody has those slides. If you don't, let me know and I'll send them to you and you can mess around with them. I still think there's more that we could do with it, but I just think that not getting that message to your clients is probably the thing that would be worth. So Chris, to your point, the people that like, if they're first time, if they own a house, it's a different conversation, right? Because they don't have to sell. But even then there's a conversation because like, hey, if you're moving out of a $500,000 house and you're looking at a $700,000 house, the difference in appreciation on the 5 versus the 7 over the next 10 years is significant. And so it's good to know. And the house is that $700,000 house next year is going to be worth $750. Just how it is. So anyway, there you go. Let's talk about Fanatical prospect. Anybody have any feedback or any comments on that? Share? Nothing? Good. All right. Chapter 16, turning around reflex responses, brush offs, and objections. I love this chapter. It's a short one. My big takeaway, and I know that you didn't get a lot of time to read this, but there was only 8 pages. So for those of you that have read it before, and hopefully you read it again, my big takeaway was being scripted and ready to go. Right. I think a lot of us, as I read that, I'm thinking to myself, the number of times that I didn't. It's nice to hear too that like, hey, rejection sucks. That rejection sucks. It's really hard not to take it personally. And I love the end of it where it just says next. You just got to remember that NEXT, next, when you get rejected. When I first got into my first sales job, y'all know the story. I worked in a boiler room where, you know, you were just dialing numbers out of the yellow pages. And your goal was to see how many people you could talk to in 40 minutes because you were going to get kicked off of the line for 20 minutes. You had a 20-minute break every hour and you worked 40 minutes and then you were off for 20. And there were 2 phone lines for every 3 salespeople. And you just, you know, you were talking to so many people, you just didn't care how much rejection. You're going to get hung up on most of the time. And you weren't going to get a deal every hour. If you got a deal a day, that was a good day. Right? Or 2 deals a day was like an amazing day. It's like, all right, I got 2 deals. 10 deals a week was a great day or a great week. And think about how many people I had to talk to get 2 deals a day in an 8-hour day, 40 minutes at a time. So being able to, you get immune to rejection in an environment like that. In this one, it's hard to get immune to it because we still get rejected and like, it's no fun. I like how he addresses that. And he just says, look, it's okay. It sucks. It's not easy to just, it is like rejection. None of us like it. But just having a script ready to go for that response of, and I didn't task anybody to get a script together, but the one where he said, we're really happy. I think that's probably one of the most common real estate agent rejections. Like, no, I'm happy with the lender that I've got. If you know, there's a pretty good chance you're going to hear that, right? On a pretty consistent basis. Hey, anytime you're getting, I don't know if I would say great rates, anytime you're getting good communication and good service, you should never think about changing. All I want to do is come by and get to know you a little better. Like, it'd be great to have a response to that didn't feel like, oh, okay, and hang up. Right. Because that's typically how, I mean, I know I've responded that way. It's like going, oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll check back with you. Like, you don't have a good response because you weren't ready for it. Well, if you could be ready for it, that would be a simple response. So Who else wants to share? I know that, like I said, I didn't give you much time on this, but like I said, 8 pages. Here, one more tip. I started a speed reading course like a week ago. It's called Jim Quick, Kwik. If you like to read, and I love to read, I'm getting to where my timing is up to like 600 words a minute. I'm a pretty fast reader to begin with, but I'm up to 600 and I'm only a week into this course. It's a 3-week course, just FYI. Kwik, it's like $197 or something. And it's a 10-minute, it's like 10 minutes a day, the lessons, and then another 10 minutes of practice. So not a lot of time to put into it. And I'm digging it. So go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, what I love about this is he gives you a whole framework that you can build that around, and it's just 3 steps. So I love that about the book. One of my favorite pieces of it is where he says there's a universal law of human behavior. You cannot argue another person into believing that they're wrong. And I often fall into that trap of trying to convince them that, well, yeah, but if you just give me a chance, come on, it would just, and I got to remember, you can't argue them into believing that they're wrong. It's use the framework.
Right on. Thanks. Who else?
I think Jessica's like grade your lender thing would be perfect for something like that. If someone has like an objection, be like, well, do you mind filling out this form? I don't have a script for it yet, but it might go pretty well. Like, well, here, let's grade your lender. I don't know. That sounds kind of weird, but I don't know. Jessica, why don't you?
I know, I'd love to have them fill it out too. I just kind of like thought of this as like, well, would you like to hear what the best mortgage company in the United States is doing differently? Like, do you want to know what we're doing different than your lender?
Well, I think he points out a really good point, is that their response is automatic, right? They're not really thinking about you, right? And when they hang up the phone, they have forgotten about you. Right. They go right on to the next thing. It's the same thing that you do, right? When you get solicited, you forget about it as soon as you move on. Right. So it is easy to take it personally, but if you can interrupt their pattern, that's why having some kind of a response that's ready to go, because you're going to get rejected most of the time. How many times have you called somebody and like going, yeah, I'd love to meet with you. Well, you know what? I know I need a lender. I would love to meet with you. Like, that typically isn't how that goes. Right. So anyway, that's just knowing that you've got some way to interrupt their pattern. I love that thought. Who else? Anybody? Bueller?
I got one.
Go ahead,
So when he talked about dwelling, I felt like that was a personal call out to me, because I realized I've been letting like a handful of no's like really impact me and like overshadow the yeses I've been getting. And I've been kind of dwelling on those. So
that's interesting, because we typically focus more on our failures than our successes. Derek Jeter, when he interviewed, if you didn't watch The Captain on ESPN, all that guy, you got 5 World Series championships and first ballot Hall of Famer, except for one sports writer.
mm-hmm.
And all he can think about is the 5 World Series they should have won that they didn't. He's like, yeah, those bugged the shit out of me. Tom Brady's the same way. He only thinks about those ones that they lost to the Giants, and then the one, I don't know what other one the guy freaking won all the time, but they all think about that. So that's human nature, right? It's human nature to stay focused on like, oh, that didn't work. Oh my God. How do you, so yeah, get past it. You got to get past it.
Hey Jay, like one thing that helped me early on was like, I'm competitive, so I'd obviously hate hearing no and it sucks, but then I'd be like, I'm gonna fucking prove that guy wrong, jerk. And sometimes I'll, you can kind of be weird and send a task for yourself like 2 years later and just like remind the guy like, hey, how's it going over there, buddy? Like, so that's just me, but
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see Hopper doing that. Anybody not see Hopper doing that? Casey, what do you got? Anything?
No. Well, first of all, yeah, that's Hopper to a T. I hear those stories. It's great. So one of the things, and this is something that jumped at me, Dave, I haven't heard you say this in a long time, but you used to tell me this all the time. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Right? It's you take it personally, but you can only, of course you're going to take it personally, but you can't let that change your day or drag you down. You have to be able to take it personal, get upset for 5 minutes, go do something else, and then get back to it. You know, I can't tell you how many times where I've gotten frustrated and I just walk away from my computer. I'll do something for 15 minutes and I'm not even thinking about it anymore. And I get back to work and it's no big deal. So
Well,
find your way to take time to change how you feel about it.
it's true. I mean, some will, some won't. So what next? It's SW. And that was one of those things that you realize that it is a numbers game. As much as you don't want it to be, and as much as I want it to be more of a relationship game, the fact is it's the numbers, and the numbers are in our favor. See, that's the deal that I think a lot of people don't recognize, is that the numbers are really on your side. Just sit at the next intersection that you're sitting at a red light and count cars. I always tell people, it's like, just count the cars and see how many people are rolling through that intersection while you're there waiting for the light to turn green. Just count the cars. And you're at one intersection for a couple, 3 minutes, you're at one intersection, and you'll easily be able to count, depending on the intersection, 25, 50, 75 cars, a lot of cars, which is a lot of human beings that need mortgages, because everybody wants what we sell, right? If you don't have a house, you want to buy one. And if you have a mortgage, you take a better one if a better one's available. Everyone you see is a potential customer. So not talking to as many people as you possibly can is your failure. If you keep it to yourself, you're going to just do less business. And when you count, you realize you're sitting at one intersection in one town for a few minutes at one time of the day. And how many intersections are there? How many people are there? Go to a Bronco game or a Nuggets game and just look around. That's one of the opportunities. So that's where the numbers play into your favor, and where some will, some won't. So what next really matters is like, oh yeah, call somebody else, because somebody else will there is somebody out there that needs your help. There's somebody that needs this message about not owning a home and what it's costing them. That guy that didn't buy a home for the last 8 years, I feel sorry for him. He's missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity growth. And he's been making the rent payment the whole time. He's been paying somebody's mortgage the whole time. That's sad. And even if his payment, didn't he say his rent payment's like $1,600, super cheap, right? He lives in the Springs somewhere, super cheap, $1,600 a month. So even if he had to pay an extra $1,000 a month over what he's paying, $12,000 a year, how much more equity would that guy have? That's the opportunity that you've got to, that's what should drive you to go out there and make those calls and talk to as many freaking people as you possibly can. That's it. Anybody have anything they want to add? We can wrap this up.
I would just say, like, people don't know what they don't know. And so when they say they don't want to work with me, I'm like, you don't know what you're saying no to. Like, I don't feel personal about it at all. Like, they just don't know what the best mortgage company is. They don't know me. They don't know anything about what we offer. So I'm not taking it as a personal hit at all. So.
I love that confidence. Good job, Jessica.
And just continue to stay in touch with those people. I'm telling you, my number one realtor, Judy Pottle, well, she was, but where I really got my start, and all it takes is one realtor, guys, and then you're getting deals, then you're calling listing agents, and like, you know, her lender so happened to walk into open house, and they continued to follow with her, and then she's like, yeah, my lender just left the business. It was
You know who that lender was?
It was Nicole Ruth.
Nicole Ruth.
In 2010, for some reason, she got out of business. Now Nicole Ruth's like the number one woman originator. And anyway, so just keep following Jay. Even if you get shut down or whatever, just stay in touch with them once a month, because then they'll be like,
Judy
that Jay guy followed up with me. I'm gonna call him. My lender just got out of business, because there'll be lenders getting out of business.
Oh yeah, Judy never did a deal with her again, did she?
Yeah, she came back. I think Nicole came back in maybe 2013 or something, or 14, and Judy's like, no, I'm working with another lender now. But I literally can like spider web all my, like, so many clients and deals out from one realtor, like listing agents. Just keep hustling, man.
So that's it. Just keep hustling. Talk to more people. That's the message. Just keep talking to more people. But improve your skills, right? Like that's part of this, right? Improve your skills. If you don't have a written response to the question, to the blow off, and this is where scripting matters so much, guys, is like type out your answer, then internalize it. You'll be ready for it. You'll be ready for the response, and it'll come naturally. And when one of those responses rolls off your tongue, like, and makes the customer go, all right, yeah, all right, I'll meet you. Be like, holy shit, I can't fucking believe that worked. So you got to have a script. You got to be ready to go. If you're not
Well-
ready, then you're going to be on your heels.
To piggyback off what Chris said there, and this was in the chapter too, is that when you get the no, it's no right then. It doesn't mean no always.
100%.
You'll have realtors, you'll talk to them and you'll meet them, and you may not get a deal from them for 3 years, but once you do, they're going to start sending you more deals because of the way that we do things. So it's just staying in touch, and no doesn't always mean no.
All right, guys, gals, thank you. Appreciate your time. We'll see you, for those of you that are going to Holly's retirement party, we'll see you this afternoon. And we'll see you on the call. I think we're doing a call. We're doing a call at noon. See ya.